I on? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Um, Today is November 10, and the time is 5:43, and we are gathered here for the Pawnee Business Council special meeting. I'd like to call that meeting to order and ask Secretary Gardapi if he would render an opening invocation. We do have some food here this evening, and once we have our prayer, we'll make our way over and get up, get some food, and we'll go into a kind of a working meeting, I guess, this evening. So, with that, Mr. Secretary.
Heavenly Father, I come to you tonight, Lord, just to thank you for allowing us to come together to talk about Pawnee business matters. Lord, I pray that you're with us and you guide us through all the decisions that we have tonight, Lord. Lord, I have a special prayer for our veterans as tomorrow's their day. Lord, our active military, I pray that you're with them tonight. Lord, I pray for all those members out there who are in mourning, who are sick, Lord, that you lay your special hands on them, Lord. All these things, I do want to pray, Lord, for our food tonight, for the nourishment of our bodies, Lord, and that you just bless each and every one that is able to attend tonight and those who are watching us all around. Lord, all these things I pray in your Son, Jesus' precious name. Amen.
No, Tuda, hey, George, if you could lead us on through, sir. Folks, there's food in the back, so grab a plate. Auntie, cousins, Idadi, Charlie, there's food in the back there, sir. Folks.
Know what, guys? Can Oh, okay, never mind.
All right, so I think everybody's got their meal, and we're going to have a working supper time here. And with that, Mr. Secretary, if you could make a call for the roll, please, I'd appreciate that.
Walter Eckerhawk,
Titiku?
Jordan Canuho,
Here.
George Gardapi here, Carol Chapman,
Here.
Cynthia Butler,
Here.
Donna Hare,
She's excused. She's coming late this evening.
Gene Evans,
Here.
Sammy Kimball. Sammy Kimball. Sammy? Can you hear me? She's here.
Okay, Sammy is present. We see you, Sammy. And if you want to unmute, we're calling the roll. Okay, she's here. Okay, we do have a quorum. And the next item up is approval of the agenda. It looks like we have a new item. Mr. Secretary, could you let us know what that is?
Yeah, we have a new item, number 5 under new business, approval of CM addendum for the Public Safety Center. And those are all the changes.
Thank you for that. And council, are there any other additions to the agenda?
Can you hear me, Jen? Thank you.
Hi, Sammy, and welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you up on the big screen.
Well, I'm kind of embarrassed. I thought it was a virtual meeting.
I know the feeling. I did that before, so I can't say nothing.
Yeah. Anywho's, I'm here. I'm here, President. Thank you. Mhm.
Other than A Star is Born up on the big screen.
That's right.
Okay, so council, are there any other items to add on this agenda? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve, please, folks.
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. So we have an agenda, and we'll turn to new business. And the first, the bulk, looks like, of the meeting are Budget Committee recommendations. And so among them, the first up is approval of 1017 Hukasa Budget Mod number 1. And Carol, are you
Yes.
going to be presenting on that?
Yes.
Thank you. Floor is
Okay.
yours.
Okay. Ukasa. Okay. This is requested by Susie Knife Chief, and it's out of the Education Division. And it is an amount of $41,255, which is a refund from the Child and Adult Care Food Program to be added to the budget. And this is based on reimbursement basis. And the IDC rate changed as well. So that's what this very first one is for the $41,255.
Thank you, Carol. And this comes to us from the Budget Committee with a recommendation. And so, council, are there any questions on this item for Carol?
I move that we approve the budget mod.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Evans, for your motion, and Cynthia for your second. Any further discussion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Canugo,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Cal Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next item is approval of 2183 FVPSA budget mod number 1. Carol, again?
Yes, this is an already established budget, and it is the Family Violence and Protective Services Grant, and it is for the amount of $1,661 an increase, and it's in the justification as to where it is being placed. It's an already established one.
Thank you for that, Treasurer Chapman. Folks, any questions of Carol on this, please?
No questions? I'll go ahead and make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Treasurer Chapman with a second from Councilwoman Butler. Any discussion on the motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Canugo,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Cal Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next item is approval of 1053 DHCS budget mod number 1. Carol?
Okay, yes. This is another already established budget, and it is an increase in funds for $8,195, and DHCS is Indian word, I don't know. What is it?
Division of Health and Community Services.
Yeah. I would like them spelled out next time.
Cynthia?
I just have a question on where it's coming from. It says it's tribally funded. Do we know what the funding source is for this budget, or for the addition? Is it a federal budget?
James is here.
Actually, I'm looking for that right now. Give me a few minutes.
Welcome, James. Glad
You know
you're
it.
here.
It's the icon up there.
Going back to the budget committee that I wasn't in, so I'm gonna go look at the document that they approved.
Okay, if we can just get that changed, and then I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you. Thank you for that motion, Cynthia. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, folks. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Canugo,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Cal Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next up is approval of 2138 LIHEAP budget mod number 3.
Okay. LIHEAP. And this is also an already established budget, and it is the addition of $1,295.
And also, that needs to be changed to federal, to tribal.
Does it? It says, No, mine says other. Yeah.
Okay, folks, any questions or comments on this?
If there's no questions, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Thank you. We have a motion.
That's what, yeah, it's in the wrong line. No, it's federal.
Okay. Oh, right.
I'll second.
Yes, thanks for that motion, Carol, and the second from Councilwoman Butler. Any comments on the motion, folks? Questions, concerns? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Canuho.
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman.
Yes.
Cynthia Butler.
Yes.
Gene Evans.
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next up is approval of 2065 ICDBG budget, mod number 1. Carol?
Yes.
Floor is yours.
This is for the amount of $300,000, and it came from transportation, and it was placed in the ICDGB budget for the Public Safety Center. And on this one, this is where several recommendations have been made as to how to spend the money, because it's just been, I mean, that we can take some, fund some programs out of it. So, and I think Jennifer had a list of recommendations. Isn't that correct, Jennifer? Oh, this one's for the construction? Oh, and the next one is for the, okay, I'm corrected. All right then, so,
Okay, so this one's for construction cost, right?
yeah.
Okay, just making sure. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Councilwoman Butler, for your motion, and Councilman Evans for your second. Any comments on the motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please, Mr. Secretary.
Jordan Canuho.
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman.
Yes.
Cynthia Butler.
Yes.
Gene Evans.
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next up is the approval of 3411 USDA Recovery Behavior Health Budget. And
We missed,
did I miss one? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Yes, next up is approval of 2067 CPF budget.
here we go, this is the one from the Department of Treasury, and it's for the amount of $167,504. And this is the one that Jennifer has some recommendations on, correct, Jennifer?
It says it's for the Pawnee Nation Public Safety Center, and this is the addendum that was added to the agenda to pay for those, to pay for the additional funding? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Councilwoman Butler. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. We have a motion and we have a second on the floor. Is there any comment on the motion, folks?
President, I had a comment on this one here.
Sure, floor is yours, Vice President.
This funding here that comes from the Department of Treasury was offered to the tribe, and it was my understanding that at the time, whenever this was requested, that this funding here was already designated to the the construction for the Department of or the DNRS upgrades, and based off of the addendum that we're going to be approving tonight, I believe this is where the funds are going to go to. My comment is basically that the decision was made to go ahead and assign this funding to the construction without really consulting with the council on what we wanted to do with this funding to begin with. And I expressed this in the budget committee meeting as well, and let them know that I would bring this to our attention as well. If any opportunities like this, I think we ought to be aware of what's available to us. And I say that because there definitely are great opportunities that we could probably use this for, or other things of that nature. I think back in the summertime, I think early summertime, I think Councilwoman Kimball, myself, and I believe Treasurer Chapman was on a call with a group of individuals who were looking at broadband and things like that in the city of Pawnee, and they had mentioned this funding here, and at the time we didn't know anything about it until it was brought to our attention that this was already applied for, and it was already, quote, allocated for what we're approving tonight. And so it is my understanding that an email has been sent to some of the council members here on this, but I don't know if there was any further efforts to reach out to us and let us know about these kinds of funds that are available. So hopefully, going on further, communication can be more, better used. I guess we could probably communicate a lot better to be able to let us know, instead of just, in my opinion, going past what the council wants to do and just already allocating this for a certain project that could have went to something else. So I just wanted to express that. I mean, what's done is done. Can't change it and everything else. I just wanted to express that much going further.
Thank you for that, Vice President. And I would just add, Jennifer and staff, that this council is a very hands-on council, and we like to be involved in major spending decisions, wherever possible, rather than being handed a fiat accompli, because we want to make sure that everything that we spend, the big ticket stuff, is aligned with the priorities of the nation. And I think that's our principal interest here, not to micromanage, but on big expenditures. We'd like to find a way that we could be involved, in the decision-making process. And certainly, the Behavioral Health Center is one of our priorities, to be sure. But I think that it would be good, if we found a way to be involved. And I'm not sure how we could do that, either through the president, and I could keep the council posted, or some other way. But we don't want to get down into the weeds and micromanage and stuff like that. But on big ticket stuff, it would be nice if we just
Yes.
want to be sure that the spending decisions made by staff aligns with the
Yes,
priorities
I
that we
agree.
have,
So one thing that I was sharing with the council before the meeting started is that we're going to start doing, in my weekly report that I add, I'm going to start adding a finance update of anything that's going on, because I've really been delving into that here lately, and we can have a finance update, and I'd like to have a monthly call, just us, where we can talk about finances and go over things like that. That would be good.
Thank you very much. I think that might do the trick. I have a bug in my craw regarding the ICDBG budget decisions that normally, as I understand it, what takes place is there's a community meeting, 5, 10 people show up, and they make a decision for spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then the council is bypassed. We get a planning department makes a decision based on a community meeting, and then we're called upon to ratify it without any involvement in it. So I just want to be sure that we want to be sure that that the big spending items are aligned with the nation priorities as we set them here. Yes, Cynthia?
I just have a comment. I'm glad that you guys are bringing this up because it is important, but it's also important for the council to go to these meetings. I attended the last maybe 4 or 5 years of these meetings as a tribal member, an employee, but now as council. So it's just, you have to engage, interact and go to them as well. But I agree with you that there needs to be a little bit more communication. I'm glad they found this funding because we knew in the beginning that they were going to have to look for this funding whenever we approved this contract. So I'm glad that it was a resource that they were able to utilize, but I agree with you that, it should have been something that we could have looked at, but where else would we have found the funding? We would have had to come up with that resource anyways because this project is already underway. But I just wanted to make that comment, but I agree with you on the communication part of it. But also want to encourage you guys to engage and to go to these meetings whenever they're done.
Yes, and I think that would be helpful if we had notice of these meetings too, Um, oh, okay, maybe it's just me. Okay. Okay. Okay, so where are we? I've lost this thread.
We have a motion and a second, and we're just doing discussion.
Okay, any further discussion on this, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, if you would, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next item up is approval of 1910 LATCF budget.
No, it's USDA.
Oh, gosh
Gee.
darn,
For 3411.
I got a lot of cousins here tonight, and a sister. They're all making me nervous. My own folks here are making me nervous out there. Okay, where are we now?
Number G, the approval of 3411 USDA Recovery Behavioral Health Budget, and this is a $1 million grant from USDA for the new Behavioral Health Center, and Brian's been working on it. Did you want to?
Thank you for that, Carol. And Jordan, I have to say, Jordan threw me off here. He threw me off of my rhythm here. Okay, thank you for that. And who is going to present on that, please?
I'll let Brian, since he's been working
Brian,
on it.
floor is yours, sir, and welcome. Good to see you this evening.
Hello, Count. Hello. One of these words. Hello, Council. Okay, this was a grant we previously got awarded several months ago. We're just now getting it to the Budget Committee. What this is USDA awarded Pawnee Nation $1 million to put in for the construction costs for the new facility that's being built here across from IHS. So what this is just strictly material costs, just to cover the materials to build the building. So it's $1 million. And just to add to that, today, this morning, USDA was here. We did a photo op. They got us a little picture frame and everything to promote what they're doing on rural development. So they were excited to announce that Pawnee Nation, out of the total funding, we got the largest award across the board compared to everyone else that was putting in for this funding. So most of that money that they got from the federal government solely went to this project. So we were able to get the largest. 20% of that funding went to Pawnee Nation for this. And so today, or in the next couple of days, you'll see that on our Facebooks and the photo ops of USDA representatives and Pawnee Nation representatives highlighting that. So they were here this morning, so that was good, and it's kind of unique timing to talk about it. But that's what that funding's for. It's just $1 million that we got awarded from them.
Thank you for that. And I would add that the USDA office is out of Stillwater. And the gentleman that was heading it up mentioned to us that USDA has all kinds of money, all kinds of programs that go far beyond farming and ranching. They can build community centers, swimming pools, all kinds of stuff. And I know that USDA has resources, millions and millions, billions of dollars that dwarf BIA funding opportunities. And they did say that they would come back and meet especially with the council to explain to us the vast programs that they do have there, you know, and I think it would be very illuminating for our council and our planning division to sit down with them, because they could fund everything and more that BIA does many times over, and I think it would really be illuminating and benefit us, you know, to sit down with them and try to get a better understanding of what they do. And it looks like they got so much money, they're trying to give it away, you know, for all kinds of things. And so I would hope, Jennifer, that we could set up a meeting with them, with the council, because there's all kinds of opportunities there. And most of Indian country does not know how to access these resources. They're not familiar with USDA and the bureaucracy and the programs and resources they have and how to go after those monies. So if we can educate ourselves, this will open a whole new horizon and vista, you know, for our fundraising initiatives here. That they could, they've got a lot of programs out there. So.
Yes, and next week when USDA comes for the photo op, I asked that we have lunch with them. That's why I have an hour and a half marked off, so we can visit, talk a little bit, and then take the photo op.
That's a different photo op? So there was something today.
Yes, today was the money that they gave towards the mental health, the behavioral health center. The one next week is for the Reconnect grant, the 25 million.
Okay.
Okay, so do we need a motion? Where am I? I lost the thread again.
I'll make a motion.
All my folks are making me nervous
I'll make
here.
a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you, Carol. Thank you for that motion, Treasurer Chapman, and the second, Councilman Evans. Any discussion on the motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote if you would, Mr. Secretary.
Jordan Canujo,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Motion carries. And congratulations, Brian. You just got $1 million for your project. And I want to commend you on all of the work you're doing on this Behavior Health Center, and I appreciate that. Sammy, you had a question in the I seen. What was your question? Do you or comment? It says, when was this? What was your question? If you care to elaborate, or was this earlier in the evening? You're on mute.
I hate that. It was earlier.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just now saw that.
You're okay.
Next up is approval of 3410 EDA Behavior Health budget. And Brian, is that you again, sir?
Yeah, so this is another funding source that we received a few months back. So we're just creating a new budget. So what this one is similar to the USDA. But this one's from the Department of Commerce EDA. This is for $3 million. So Pawnee Nation was awarded a total of $3 million to cover some of the construction costs. So we just put that to cover the materials for that once we start that project. So this is just another award that we got for an amount of $3 million.
Exclamation mark there.
Blessing from above.
That must be me. They're after me up there in the heavens there. Okay, so any questions of Brian for this $3 million from EDA? It's been on our radar screen for quite some time now. So
I'll second.
thank you for the motion, Treasurer Chapman, and second, Councilwoman Butler. Any comments on the motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gard, PS, Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, council. Motion carries. And Brian, if you could give a brief status report on this Behavior Health Center. We've got some tribal members here, including my cousin Hilaire from Alaska. And I wanted to let them know what we're doing. And this is a very exciting project that we have underway. It's a multi-million-dollar initiative. And Brian, if you could just give us a brief status report about it and what it is and what we're doing, sir, if you would.
Yeah, no problem. So back in 2018, we took initiative to do a community outreach to see if there was a need for a behavioral health, mental health facility to address substance abuse needs as well as mental health needs. So we did a whole feasibility study and just made sure to see if that was a need and see if it was feasible. So what we're at now is we're building our capital stack as we speak right now. There's a few inner parts that are working. We've narrowed down some federal funding, as well as we're working at our other capital stacks with our partnership with Ascension Recovery Services. They are partnering in this project, as well as they're going to help us manage that facility and work with the community and build that workforce up. So there'll be a transitional phase down the road where we would be running that facility. But it's a unique opportunity that we can address that huge need in our community. So what we're at right now is we're working at the management contract. We got a couple people, got AG Smith as well as the incorporators looking at that contract. We're hoping to finalize that in the near months. The next couple of months we're looking at finalizing the bank financing, which will probably be at either end of the year or beginning of the year in January, to narrow down that funding, as well as the new market tax credits, which is another federal program that would give us several millions of dollars to support this project. But we're hoping to break ground around March of 2023, and then have the construction project finalized and built and by June of 24. So that's when we'll open up doors if everything goes as well. It's a 26 bed facility, inpatient, as well as it has an outpatient, and it has an emergency access point for individuals that need that emergency care. But it's a one-stop shop kind of a facility. So when people are leaving, you know, the inpatient got the making that transitional phase to recovery, they could just go down the hall and get those outreach services provided to them, if that's group therapy or individual therapy or all the things that play a part in their prosperity road. So everything looks good, and we're moving in the right direction. So that's where we're at right now.
Thank you, Brian. This will be about a $17 million project, right? And
About 15.
18?
15.
Oh, 15.
15.
Okay. And as he says, it'll be a 26-bed inpatient and outpatient behavior health center. And this is a giant step for the Pawnee Nation entering into the field of medicine. And this behavior health center will be the only one of its kind in north central Oklahoma. When it opens, your president's going to be the first patient there.
Madam President, I see Councilwoman Kimball's hand is up.
Oh, Sammy, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I just had a question for Brian. I appreciate all the hard work, Brian, that you're doing for this behavioral health. And I just want to know, I guess for my own peace of mind, that all of this is going through the LLC board, President Echohawk, Vice President Canuho, and Treasurer Chapman, that all of them are on board with all these things that are moving parts, because we cannot as a council just, know it all. But I would imagine that this is at the LLC level. Is that true?
Correct. So when there's new documents that need to be reviewed and approved, we give them those documents. We work with legal from Ascension as well as our side to make sure that everybody's at the same side or on the same page. So we are proactively engaging them when materials need to be addressed and things like that. So they're always involved, and we usually have bi-weekly meetings, if not weekly meetings. Right now, we've canceled quite a few just because there's a lot of work that's been happening behind the scenes. Just nothing really's been brought to the table, and that's kind of like doing our feasibility study, doing our appraisals and things like that are kind of working behind the scene. But once those things and any approval that needs, it's brought to them, and they are the ones that give the final approval before we move forward. So yes, ma'am.
I see. So I guess my next question would be to Carol and to Vice President Canuho. So you all are on board with all of this, and it's good, right?
Sammy, I'll go ahead and go first. Pretty much that is it, what Brian said, but I think one of the things on the LLC that has been formed, currently it is myself, Vice President Canuho, and President Echohawk. We are the board. We serve as the board for the LLC. We make all financial decisions. We've been the ones in the meetings on the financials, going over it with Ascension. And for me, as a council person, as we're going forward, I would like to recommend that it stay that way for now. We are doing the operating agreement. Again, these are really a lot of complicated legal documents. They're very powerful. Once permanent people are seated in there, they do make decisions for us. And so we haven't even opened or broke ground yet. I think it's been pushed back to April, isn't it, Brian? April, the actual groundbreaking?
Yeah, either March or April. So
Right.
Yes, yeah, around that
So
time.
I really do not feel that we should be selecting in any manner any board members to replace the officers right now, because we are in too crucial of a stage, and I feel like the council members need to be the ones in charge completely until we are way farther down the line. And I also feel that the PBC should be actively involved in selecting those members, whoever they might be, when we are not in that position. So I would like to recommend that no more be done to bring on any new chief executive officers or anything like that, that it remain totally with the officers of the council. And I think.
Yes.
Yes, to answer Councilwoman Campbell's question there, yeah, we've been up to date on everything that Brian's brought to at least us three, President, myself, and Treasurer Chapman. Currently, last week, he sent an email to us regarding the master service agreement with Ascension, and so that's in review process right now. Chris Watrous, I believe is his name, with Ascension, he's been a very good resource as well, keeping us up to date and communicating with us on the progress of how the behavioral health facility is going. And for me, I'm thankful that we're able to secure the funding that we have, the $1 million from USDA, the $3 million from the Department of Commerce, just so that we're able to put a lot of money that's not tied up into any kind of debt towards this construction. And so, for me, my question for Brian is, was these funds here already figured into whenever we were looking at the loan agreement and everything else, or is that going to help with the loan that we're going to have to pay back eventually?
So our capital stack has incorporated those funds. That's one factor that's one reason why we're not asking as much to cover the 100% of the construction, so this does play a factor into it. We got some things outside of this. We got $250,000 from IHS on top of that. We just submitted another $2 million ICBG grant to go for this. And then even with the additional bank financing, our next main objective is go after the 105 leasing. We believe that federal funding will offset any bank financing that we have. It pays for principal, it pays for the interest, it pays for the maintenance, depreciation. And with this project and the scope of work that it has, it's a very valuable candidate that it could be supported by federal funds that's doesn't impact what they do already with the money that they get already from IHS with their SAP program and inpatient. This will be supplemental to that. So but we can't go after that until once, we get closer to opening the doors. But we had a meeting a few weeks ago with IHS. They sounded really excited, and they highlighted that, based off of what we have and what this program's about, it's a good candidate for that. So that's one of our next methods, and once our next steps outside of getting any additional federal funding is to go after 105 leasing to secure the principal and interest payment that will go directly to the bank.
With that 105L leasing, is that covering the full facility or just where SAP and?
Honestly, we believe it'll cover the whole building. Now, they will be the final say-so that covers administrative costs like third-party billing, things behind the scenes that are happening that, runs a facility. But we get to, right now, before we went to self-governance with IHS, two of our contracts. One was our outpatient, which is our SAP program, and then we had a separate contract was inpatient. So we got we had two contracts. We believe both of those will cover, outpatient wing, the inpatient wing, and then the administrative stuff. But at the end of the day, they'll go and look at it and be the final say-so on that. But we're pretty confident it'll be the full facility.
Okay, well, that'll be good for that as well. That's good. I just want to reiterate to our tribal members, those that are here and then those that are watching as well. A while back, we agreed to the loan that would help with this construction and also the operating costs once we begin operating the facility there. And one of the biggest concerns, I guess, and it's an obvious concern, is paying this loan back. And so hopefully with securing, the financing from USDA, the one from Department of Commerce, and then the others that Brian mentioned there, does show that the tribe is doing as much effort to secure financing and other funds to be able to secure that. And then the 105L leasing as well is definitely going to help on that aspect as well. So those are good avenues. So that's all I had.
I had one more question, Brian. Today in the meeting with Chris Watrous, you were bringing us up to date on the report. Could you explain to the council the chief executive officer status that you talked about today? You said it would be done by a certain date, the selection.
Are you talking about the CM? I think you're talking about. Are you talking about the construction manager?
No, the board for the articles of the board that will replace the PBC.
We didn't talk about it. We're not moving in that direction just yet. We want to just work with the incorporators. I know what we talked about today was the selection of the new CM.
Okay.
So we had to resolicit that.
Okay.
And then we got interviews next week. I think some people got some emails. I know Donna was on part of the proposal review, but that's what we talked about today, to get a new CM to build the facility. So
okay.
that's
On the other one, when were you said you weren't ready for that yet? So when will we be ready for that other part on the selecting of the
board?
Mm-hmm.
That's up to council. So I leave that up to y'all when y'all feel comfortable and have good candidates that would be a good fit to in place the corporators. I leave that on y'all if that's more of opening the doors and watching throughout the construction process. But I just leave that process up to when y'all feel comfortable. But
okay, well, whenever you do get ready for that, I would like for the council to be involved in that, because I know there'd already been some meetings held and there were some names already mentioned. So I know as a council, we always try to look for Pawnees who are really highly educated to apply for real high positions like this. And so I'm sure that when that point does come, that we as a council will want to open it up and make sure that our Pawnee people have the opportunity to be selected.
Yes, and we're going to let y'all do all the interviewing, the selection. When we
Okay.
get to that point, you know, we might make some recommendations of people that we've talked to throughout the community or got some input from y'all. But at the end of the day, yes, y'all will be the main people doing the interviews and making that selection when y'all ready.
And you'll let us know when it is time for that so we can recommend to our people if they want to apply?
Yes, we'll solicit, make sure if anyone's interested
Okay.
out there, yes, when
Thank
we get
you.
to that point, we will.
Brian, I just had a question, sorry. Did you say we had to re-solicit a CM? I was under the
Correct.
impression that, didn't we select a CM? Was it,
Correct.
what happened? I didn't get the update on that.
Okay, so what had happened was we previously selected a firm, and we started working with them. They started working with our design team and starting kind of finalizing that 100% DD that we needed. In the meantime, while we were working on their designs, they were giving us, you know, cost proposals of what it would take to build that facility. While we started working, this was going on for several months, you know, we just was going back and forth, trying to get them to clarify certain line items and kind of breaking those down to see. But at the end of the day, the team just had this intuition that we just felt that it was just a little excessive. So what we did was, as a team, to do our due diligence, we went and hired an independent cost estimator just to kind of validate our gut feeling, in which what we did was we hired that ICE. The ICE came back and confirmed that this firm was a little high than what we could afford with the budget that we were projected. So at the end of the day, we had to, because all this is like time sensitive and things like that, so we just had to go back and re-solicit. They did put in for the re-solicit. When we re-solicited, they put in a proposal too, but it just reconfirmed that it was just over budget, and we just couldn't afford them, so we had to re-solicit for some CM. So we got 2 new proposals that we want to propose to y'all that fit in line with our budget.
Thank you, Brian, I just needed the update.
I know. Okay, no problem.
So back to my questions, I guess this is Sammy Kimball again. I just want to ensure that because we're not seeing your day-to-day or week-to-week or bi-weekly updates on this project, and that's why I would really like to ensure that Treasurer Chapman, President Eckahawk, and Vice President Canuho are all on board. I don't like working in silos. I don't like actions happening and then we don't find out for a couple of months that, for instance, even this design team. We need to know, we need to be able to speak to our tribal members when they're asking about this stuff. How much does it cost? Yeah, just on and on. I mean, we get questions all the time, and we need to be able to talk smart. Okay, I want to be able to be forthright, and all of us want to be forthright and be able to speak to that matter. So if you could kindly keep those 3 on the LLC engaged, I'd really appreciate it. And I lean on them with my votes as well. I'm trusting them and their intuition and their professionalism to help guide me as well, since I'm not a part of your meetings. That's all. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think that the LLC board, which currently consists of myself and Vice President and Treasurer, are basically acting on behalf of the LLC on any transactions that is between the LLC and banks and consultants and all of that. And maybe we need to keep the council a little bit more up to speed on those activities. But the project is moving pretty fast, and it's kind of a lot of moving parts to it. And we'll have to try to do a better job to keep the council up to speed. But right
President,
now,
I could
Yeah, go ahead.
recommend something.
yeah, go ahead.
If you would be okay, is to ask Brian to produce minutes and present them to the council on the biweekly meetings on the topics that we're discussing in there, because that's really where all the main decisions are being discussed.
Yeah, that might be a good addition, to maybe kind of like what Jennifer is doing, a weekly or bi-weekly kind of an update like what the ED is doing for the council, just because it's a big project and it's got a lot of moving parts. And I know we three that are on the LLC board, and a lot of that, the transactions now are actually between the LLC and the banks and the consultants and whatnot, rather than the LLC and the council. But at the same time, we do need to, it would be helpful to keep the rest of the PBC abreast of what's going on. So if you could do that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that
Thanks,
won't be a
Carol.
problem. I know, Chris, from Ascension, every meeting that we have, he produces meeting minutes right afterwards. So, I think regardless if there's some meetings that, we have that not everyone's available, I'll just send it out to council. And then if y'all ever have questions or need clarifications, feel free to reach out to me, and, we'll get those answers for y'all. And just so y'all are well caught up.
All right. Anything else, folks? I think with that, let's just move on. Howard, did I see your hand up, sir? Excellent. And also, cousin? Okay, we'll have open forum later. We'll have open forum later, folks. Okay, so next up then is approval of 1910 LATCF budget. And who is going to present on that, please?
President, that is the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund. And this is establishing the new budget, and this is the one that we have $624,751.92, which we can allocate in different ways. And I think Jennifer has made some recommendations for
Yes.
us.
That's what I added in my quarterly report last week about, this is a $600 amount that we're going to get this year and next year. And this comes from our Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund. It's a very generalized fund, so the only thing we can't use this for is lobbying. So been talking with our directors, taking my daily rounds at all the buildings. We have a lot of building maintenance repairs that we need, and I think we talked about this last week. So a checklist of priorities, along with the biggest priority is putting some money in our reserves, is having some elders allocation. I think Treasurer Chapman has some ideas on that. Building maintenance repairs. I have a top priorities that I've sent to the council. Phone upgrades, which we've talked about with IT. And then, like I said, money in reserves. So that's my request, but it's up to the PBC what we do with that.
Yes, well, I'd like to see your recommendation from the staff level. We had a discussion in the budget committee, I think it was, about trying to have some elder assistance, like we did last year.
Yes.
And it was a pretty penny. We were able to do it last year, and we were talking about using this money to do it again this year. Over the holiday season, but then Jennifer interjected, rightfully so, that that she's got a whole bunch of other priorities. And so we said to ourselves, we'll kick this up to the council and let them decide because the council at the end of the day has to weigh the priorities. And so the question is how best to use this money. And as I mentioned at the budget committee level, last year we put a lot of money into our elder assistance over the holidays, different checks and whatnot to help get through the holidays and whatnot. And we were able to do so. We had the money to do it. But this year we're not quite as cashy as we were last year, and we've got these other priorities that need to be weighed, and so it may be that we might have to weigh what we want to do for the elders over the holiday season against these other priorities that Jennifer has, and so I work with Jennifer quite a bit, and I just wanted to be a voice for her to make sure you get your priorities for the use of this money before the council here so that we can make an informed decision as to the best possible uses, and I know we want to help our elders to the extent that we're able, but we also have to look at these other needs that we do have.
And just to interject, we have funds that we can help the elders with. It's a different fund source. I speak with some of the council about that before the meeting. That's allocated funds that we didn't use, so we can just reallocate those funds. So we do have funding to help the elders, but this pot of money I was talking about for repairs and maintenance and such.
Now, this fund right here is what we used last year to fund our elders. And we funded them 100 for Thanksgiving for food and 200 for Christmas. And James did calculate it, and James, the calculation was, correct me, was it 165,000 out of this for the elders, for the two
It's like around
district.
168,000.
Yeah. So that is how much we did take out of this fund last year for our elders, and then that would, if we did that, that would leave a balance that could be used for some of the special projects.
Yes, and so I would be interested in what your recommendations to the council is for using these monies. It's an interesting thing. I was counting the other day. We own about 30 buildings, more buildings than the entire downtown of Pawnee, Oklahoma, I think, including 3 downtown. And we're kind of almost building rich. It takes 300,000 a year just to have the electricity on. But we've got a lot of maintenance to do, roofs and all kinds of building maintenance. And so if you could lay out
Okay.
the other kind of needs that you're foreseeing that you had on your list.
Sure.
And
Do you want me to
Yeah,
tell them
please.
now? Okay.
Yeah.
So I asked property for the top 10 priorities, and that was made up on things that I have seen, talked to the directors, as well as looking at the buildings. And so those top items are the BIA building needs a new roof. We are the landlords. We need to make sure that we have a good relationship and that we're not slumlords in that way. Also, our multi-purpose building, we need 3 AC units. The walk-in freezer and the commercial fridge are kaput. They need to be replaced. They cannot be fixed, so we just have to get new ones. The old clinic, we need to replace the roof. We need to replace and repair the elevator and new windows. The elevator, they've stopped making those parts, so we have to get brand new system. And the windows need to be all updated, meaning they're all storm windows and that they help and that they're energy efficient. That will help our cost, all the above. Building 64, we need to replace the elevator shaft. Again, that's an old unit. They no longer make that anymore, so we have to make We have to buy a completely new elevator and shaft. All tribal buildings we need updates in our plumbing and bathrooms. Everybody has been in Building 64 knows that you have to hold the handles down to flush the toilets, and even then, it takes a bit to flush it. The pressure's off. We need new pipes, complete new plumbing in every single building. All tribal buildings, blah, blah, blah. The Berry building, we need to replace and repair the elevator. Those parts, again, we don't make them anymore, so we need to replace the elevator and possibly the shaft as well. Food distribution, we need someone to come in and inspect for water leaks, because if you go in the other room in there, whenever it rains, like right now, there's a huge area where it floods. I can't tell you how many of our buildings, when it's raining like this, there's flooding. And so we have a lot of repairs when it comes to flooding and sealants, and our ceilings. And also, one of the biggest things that we'd like to do is whenever we do build buildings, I'm not sure why, but it was approved before that we would use the contractor's inspector. We aren't doing that anymore. We're going to hire our own third-party inspector to inspect all the buildings and make sure that it's done to not only the national standard, but Pawnee Nation standard. So that's our top 10 we have to do list.
We hired Amy Wilson, and she will be here to help us write grants for infrastructure. Can a lot of those things be included in her infrastructure work?
She is going to be looking in there. There is money for maintenance for the buildings that we have because they're older buildings. But we have to delve into that to see, because from what I understand, it could be the shell of the building, it could be the infrastructure part, depends on what the grant is for. So we'll look into that.
Okay. My other question is, the other funding that you were looking at to save this, is that in the form of we gave checks to the elders last year, checks?
Yes, and so what we did was, Laura May went through the budget for me, and I'm going to put that in my weekly report. We have a little over $1 million that has been earmarked to spend, but we didn't spend it in 2022. So that can all be reallocated to whatever you guys want to spend that towards. That is the funding that we suggest that we use.
Would there be an income level on that?
No. For elders?
Mhm.
No. Are
Okay.
you talking about for the holiday?
Mm-hmm.
No,
For
there would
both
be
of
no
them?
income, no,
And it
just
would
being
cover-
an elder.
Right. Oops. Okay. And we're getting this next year too, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
So the 1 million that Laura May came up with, can it be redirected to some of the things that you are
Yes,
concerned about?
yes.
If so, then I would like to go ahead and recommend that we use this to immediately fund the elders if we can transfer that other million to what you,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. It won't because it's ARPA funding.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's how we suggested the ARPA funding could do the food sovereignty for the elders.
Mhm.
And then the money that isn't reallocated, we could use some of that for additional funding.
Okay. Well, it's up to the council, whatever you all decide. My thing is Thanksgiving is coming here pretty quick, and I do know that food is very expensive. A loaf of bread is $5 now, and I do know that they usually don't have a whole lot of money, so just as long as we can get it out quickly to them before Thanksgiving and Christmas. But it's up to the council what they want to do.
President?
Go ahead, sir. Vice
It
President.
appears that this budget here is accounting for at least $100 for the elders. I would assume that if we pass this budget tonight, then there's not a resolution that's going to be required to go ahead and make that action happen, right? It's it's already included in the budget, so the $100 can go out for Thanksgiving. And you're saying the ARPA funding, that would, need a resolution for allocation purposes,
Yes.
correct? And we can handle that preferably at the
Correct.
next meeting,
Right.
so that that can carry up. So,
I think the that 1 million from the ARPA was the unclaimed money from the tribal assistance. Is that correct? Where is that 1 million coming from?
No. That,
Yeah,
That-
that was a combination of several different funds.
The
That
other-
wasn't
Okay.
spent.
the other, they still have till December 31st to apply for that. Then we'll know what's left there.
Well, it sounds like we can do both, then. It just depends on what budget
Mhm.
we come from. But you don't have a price tag on your top 10 list. It sounded like it's a pretty pricey.
It's a pretty big list, so what
Yeah.
what my plan was, is I have 10 items, is to do 5 each year. So it'll take me 2 years to do these 10 items. So then we can do funding for the elders, we can do the phone maintenance updates, we can do, the building repairs. It's basically everything that we talked about just then, but it'll take
Over
us
2
2 years to do the building maintenance.
You forgot about the cockroaches in Building
And
64.
Kakaracha, yes.
Add that to your list. I don't want to cave in my office. Okay, folks, so where are we at then?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. And the motion would be to approve this budget mod then, is that right? Or the budget?
That
Yeah, it's
CF
not a budget
Yeah,
mod.
that
it's
CF budget.
Yeah, okay. Okay, any further discussion on the motion?
just one real quick. So after we approve this, how soon will those checks go out for the elders?
So annuities is going out first, and right now we're doing the gas cards. So for the elders who are out of state that got the application for the gas cards, we're doing those. And then the third thing that we'll do will then be the checks for Thanksgiving. So we'll say 2.5 weeks. Okay, so make the Thanksgiving checks priority. Okay, annuity, we'll do it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks is Thanksgiving.
Sorry, I'm
itself.
thinking operations.
I mean, this is just my recommendation. I would make the Thanksgiving the priority. I think the
Oh,
tribal
yes,
members can
yes,
wait.
I'm sorry,
Tribal
yes.
members can
It's
wait on
the
the
10th,
$8.
yes,
That's
yes,
right.
Thank you, yes,
Yeah, and then go from
yes,
there.
yes, my apologies, yes.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to make sure our elders got the funds for that.
Okay, all right, good enough. So moving on, next item up is call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, moving on. Approval of 1067-301 IEC Park Lights Budget. And who's going to present on that, please?
I think Reva is here to present. These are both hers, the two go together. 1067 and 3209.
Okay, thank you. Reba, floor is yours. Then welcome. Hello, Reva. The floor is yours.
I think there's probably some difficulties. Brian's going to go ahead and talk for her.
Okay, thank you. Brian, floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, so planning, what they're working on is trying to get some lights for the park. I know that's been a big want and desire by the community, is get some lights, you know, especially when it gets dark, you know, and get some lights around the basketball court, the horseshoe. pits there. So what this was, there was a community grant by Indian Electric. They give out funding to organizations throughout the community. So this was a grant that they were awarded. I believe it's for $500. And that's just to go towards the lights for the community park.
Thank you for that, sir. Folks, any questions on this?
I
Make-
do.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So that goes towards the purchase. Is there that's not gonna cover everything. Where's the rest of the money coming from?
We do got another next line item is some extra funding. We still got a lot more funding to,
Right.
yeah, we're still gathering additional funds too, but we just wanted to create a budget and just add it to it. But yeah, we're working on it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Cynthia, for your motion, and Vice President for your second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardner, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next item is approval of 3209 Silet's Tribal Charity Contribution Fund budget. And who's going to present on that, please?
I can do that as well. It's similar, so this is just another. This one came from a tribe. They support other Native American tribes. So this one's for $10,000 for the same purpose, to get the lights for the community park.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, council. We have a motion and a second on the floor here. Any discussion on the motion, please? I had a quick question. This came from the Silet's tribe. How did we fundraise to get that tribal contribution to the Pawnee Nation?
I can't take the credit. I know Sky was a big part of that. I think he just did some research, found that they had a program set up where they can provide funding to tribes, and he applied for it and received it.
That's
Sky
very
gave me
awesome. If you guys could provide a special thank you letter to the Silet's tribe for my signature, I'd appreciate it. I think because it is another tribe, unless a letter's already gone out.
We already did.
Oh, already covered? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, thanks. Excellent. Okay. Any questions on this, council? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion, or do we already have a motion?
We have a motion and a second.
Okay. Call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardner, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Did you say yes, Sammy?
We can't hear.
Okay, she
any
said
audio.
yes, okay. Thank you. Okay, motion carries. And this brings us to the second agenda item of the evening, and that is approval to amend Resolution 2265, HR Policy and Procedures Revision. And I see that our HR manager is here. Are you going to be presenting on that, sir, or who's going to present on this resolution, folks? Okay, thank you. And okay, thank you. Jennifer, floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, this is, whenever we dismantled the HR committee, we forgot to add this in there. Right now, we have a grievance committee made up of staff, and I feel like we need to dismantle that and go to an outside, private, third-party entity to come in and handle grievances for HR.
Excellent. And I recall the Attorney General recommending that a long time ago, you know, that so you don't have a situation of staff having to judge other staff, kind of a thing, you know, on grievances.
Yes, and not just that, but I think it would be good to have staff that is educated in policy and HR rights, labor laws, all of that. And that way, I think it's not fair to hold staff accountable, and it really puts the arrow on them when we should take that off of them.
Yes. Okay, so folks, are there any questions on this?
I just have a comment.
Yes, Cynthia, floor is yours.
It would have been nice to actually see the revision that was being made to the policy, since it is a policy. So I would have liked to have seen the red line of doing that. You know, that comes to this body whenever we make any revisions to policy. So I'm in agreement that it needs to happen because it's already happened, but next time I would like to see the policy in front of us as well.
Okay, we can do that.
And then I don't like the word disband. Can we use the word dissolve? Because we're dissolving it.
Yes.
Okay, that was my only comments. Thank you. And I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2265
With that change?
with changes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and we have a second. Any comments on the motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball. She said yes.
Okay. All right, council, motion carries. And with that, we'll move on. Approval of Resolution 22-75, proclamation on the passing of past President George E. Howell. And who's going to present on that, please? Yeah, I could make a presentation on that. As we know, we lost one of our very respected past presidents. I believe it was last week. Was his funeral last week? Mr. George Elton Howell, who comes from a very revered Pawnee family, the Howell family, and very beloved figure, revered figure here at the Pawnee Nation, and we felt it appropriate, you know, to acknowledge his passing, which I think in many ways it closes, I think, an era, and to acknowledge that out of respect to him, his service to the nation, and his family as well by this proclamation. And so that's the purpose of it, and I would submit that it is very fitting and appropriate that we do so, and am available for any questions or comments, folks, on the proposed resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2275.
I'll second.
Thank you for that. And any further comments on this proclamation?
Just after we pass this, President, would you mind reading this for those that are watching and in attendance?
Should I read the whole thing or just the okay. The whole thing? Okay. Okay, Resolution 22-75 proclamation dated November 10, 2022. Whereas the Pawnee Business Council is the supreme governing body of the Pawnee Nation and is authorized to conduct business on behalf of the Pawnee Nation in accordance with Article 4, Sections 1 and 2 of the Pawnee Nation Constitution and bylaws. And whereas the Pawnee Business Council met in special session on November 10, 2022 at the Pawnee Nation Rome Chief Event Center, duly authorized with a quorum present. And whereas the Pawnee Nation shares in the mourning of a respectable leader, tribal member and former PBC president, Mr. George Elton Howell. And whereas, after learning about the passage of President Howell on October 27, 2022, the Pawnee Business Council wishes to issue a proclamation to declare the nation's deep appreciation for his lifelong work. And whereas over his two-term period, President Howe worked to strengthen the Pawnee Nation and was instrumental in establishing various health, economic, education, environmental, and employment opportunities. And whereas prior to becoming president, he dedicated his life to serving Indian country as number 1, Chief Executive Office for the Indian Health Service, 2, Chairman to the National Direct Service Tribes of Indian Health Service and Behavior Health Programs, 3, Head Accountant for the Southern Ute Tribe, 4, Alcohol Counselor Instructor, 5, CEO of a Substance Abuse Center, 6, CEO of Kansas Kickapoo Health Center, and 7, Chairman for the Board of Trustees with the Pawnee Nation College. And whereas through these leadership roles over the course of his life, President Howe was preparing himself to lead the Pawnee Nation into the 21st century. And whereas the Pawnee Business Council wishes to extend and express its deep appreciation to the family of President George E. Howe for allowing the Pawnee Nation to share in the joy of his leadership and achievements. And whereas today the Pawnee Nation will continue forward with his teaching that, quote, you always leave a place better than when you first got there, unquote. Now therefore be it resolved, with respect for the passing of former Pawnee Business Council President George E. Howe, the Pawnee Nation will close the offices for the funeral services and burial to honor his legacy, commemorate his life, and acknowledge his great service to the Pawnee Nation. Be it further resolved, the Pawnee Nation sends condolences to his loving wife, Pat Howe, and his family during their time of mourning. And so this is, I think, a very fitting tribute and proclamation to one of our beloved tribal members and tribal presidents. And I appreciate the executive office for putting together this very appropriate and moving proclamation. Call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball. She said yes.
Thank you, Sammy. Motion carries. And so, Executive Office, if I could ask, if we could get a really nice copy of the signed proclamation, maybe framed, and maybe a second copy as well, or maybe a handful of copies, and we'll try to get them to his wife, Pat, and the family there.
And can we make that a one-pager somehow?
Okay, well, that's awesome. Thank you for that, and he certainly will be missed. Touched a lot of lives here. With that, item number 4 of our agenda is discussion and/or action on elders' food sovereignty assistance. Did we cover that already or no?
Yes, we,
Okay.
Yes, I think we did. It's already in the budget, and it will be a priority and get out before Thanksgiving for the elders. Okay, thank you. So do we need to vote on it again, or? Nope, it's already, all right, settled.
Okay. All right. Item number 5 is approval of CM addendum for the Public Safety Center. And who's going to present on that? Okay, Reva, are you able to join us?
Yeah, so what this is back in June, when council approved the contract for the Public Safety Center, we mentioned that we presented this addendum as well, that we would come later on with the addendum to show them that, once we found the funding, it would help cover the remaining costs for the Public Safety Center. So that the budget that we just approved earlier, this is just addendum, not changing scope, not changing anything. It's just inserting those funds into the overall contract to cover that expenditure.
How much money does this pertain to?
So on F, the budget that we approved, it was for the same amount, for $167,504.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, folks. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion, please? Hearing none, call for the vote, Mr. Secretary, if you would.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball. She said yes.
Okay, thank you, Sammy. I'm not used to hearing Sammy being so quiet at our council meetings. She's very agreeable, so, okay. All right, folks. Well, that brings us to the end of our business. On our next item is our open forum for our tribal members that are here. I see we have a number of folks that are here this evening, and so if any of you all would like to address the Pawnee Business Council, this is a space for you to do so, and we want to welcome you at this time. Deb Echohawk, I see the floor is your hand is up.
Nawa. Hello. I think it's wonderful what Brian's done for the mental health clinic. I know when I was working ENT and we had 2 years to plan the IHS clinic, we spent those 2 years training our locals to get appropriate training, and we started out by getting all the job descriptions that would be needed to open the clinic and have that available, and it took 2 years to get people trained in there, and a lot of people that are working there still are previous clients that we had. Have you done some initiative there to see what job description, sensing that there would be job creation from this building, and to see what kind of job descriptions that will be needed, and then training lined up?
So we do have like a staff worksheet that we're currently working on right now. We haven't finalized that yet, just because we want to make sure that, we get all the funding for the facility, making sure that, it's not changing scope and we can provide all those services. But the talks behind the scenes is looking at some of the programs that we want to take advantage of utilizing the college, especially on the administrative side. There's special codings and things like that, as well as working with therapists that, from taking advantage of our SAP programs, or, certified counselors, and then looking at ways that we can also partner up with Pawnees that are currently going to local schools or surrounding schools, that there's an opportunity to come here. So we're still working on that. Once the construction starts, a lot of that program development and everything like that will start working once the construction process. So we're hopefully in around February, March, we'll start finalizing that. So we're getting there. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, Deb. And Hilaire, it's good to see you. This is my long lost cousin from southeast Alaska.
I have one question quick. Is there a time limit on this?
Go ahead.
Okay. I only know one person on the council in this whole room aside from my relative, so I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Hilaire Echohawk. I'm the youngest daughter of Chris and Whitty Echohawk. I was raised here in Pawnee, and when I was a young teenager, my parents passed away 6 months apart, and my little brother and I went in different directions. I went with my brother Howard, who's present tonight. He's not paying attention. And I went to Alaska, and that was quite the culture shock for me. But I now know that it was a very good decision that they made at the time. This was before, well, that was a good decision for me. So I come from George Echohawk. He was my great-grandfather. And Mamie Grant Morgan and Bill Morgan. Mamie Morgan was our beloved grandmother. She was a full skeety, and she taught me incredible Pawnee traditions and lessons that I'm sure you all know. And I just want to say this, one of the things that she taught me when it was thundering and lightning earlier, and I thought of her, and I know you all know this, but I just want to say this. When I was at her home, when I was spent a lot of time with her, and even as a little girl until the time just before I left, before my parents died, and I would be asleep, and these Oklahoma storms would come through, and I would hear her get up. She had a cane, and she would walk, and she would come into the room, and she would tell me to get up, and I would have big eyes laying there, and she said, "You don't be afraid, you get up and you come in and sit down." So we would go into the front room, and we would sit there, and then she would tell me the stories of when the lightning and when the thunder would happen. She would say, "The Creator's speaking to us. That's the Creator." And you sit there and you pray, and she just taught me the most wonderful lessons of our people. When she talked about the thunder, how that was the Creator speaking. And I'll always be grateful to her for that. She taught me some wonderful lessons that has helped me in my life. I just want to say to you all that it is so wonderful to be back, to be able to walk back on this land and to see all of you. I went to the tribal office today, and the department heads and the folks that were there, they took the time, because I said I came down from Alaska, and I'm a Pawnee tribal member. They took the time to come out and talk to me, and I'm so impressed with what I heard. Thank you so much for your hard work, Brian. That was really wonderful. We went to see Debbie Echohawk, and she took us into the Earth Lodge. And I just want to say this, I used to dream about that Earth Lodge when I was younger, and to walk into it today, and I walked around it like I remember this in my dream. It was very powerful for me to see this. I know a lot of effort and a lot of time went into that, and I hope that it is my thoughts and prayers that it just stays in such a good way for all of our people. Having lived so far away from home, and when I come home, I realize how much we have. I live amongst the Tsimshian, Tlingit, and Haida people in the rainforest in Alaska. My children are actually rainforest Indians, and we go into the rainforest every chance we get. We can take 6 steps off of the sidewalk or main road, and you're in the rainforest. And they harvest their valuable resources in the rainforest on the cedar. They harvest the sea. They harvest the land. And it's just what a wonderful life experience it is for myself and my children and my grandchildren. I'm the mother of 4 adult Pawnee children and I have 9 Pawnee grandchildren that live on the Annette Island in the Metlakatla Indian community, and I just recently moved to Ketchikan. It's 17 nautical miles away from Metlakatla to my oldest son's home, and I'm there. I come in and out of their lives. I'm a freelance photographer by trade, so I come in and out, but it's a good base. But I talk about all of you and our people and how wonderful it was to be raised here in Pawnee. I tell them that all the time, and I'm glad that some of them are down here right now. They're here with me, so you may, if you go to the Veterans Dance, you'll see them. So I just want to say, I humbly say that I'm the daughter of one of the 72 full-bloods, my mother, Chris Echohawk. And the last time that I was home, I try to come home once a year, and I love it that I can come home to a tribal council meeting. It just really means a lot to me to be able to be here today and to speak to you all. The last time I was home, and I was at the Veterans Dance, and I was sitting there, and Bill Howe was speaking, and the drum, he motioned for the drum to start, and he told the male singers, the male dancers to get up and start dancing. And I was sitting there, and I was thinking about my wonderful grandmother and my relatives and my mother and my father and those that have gone on before us. And as I was sitting there, I heard my name called. And I looked to the left and to the right, and there was no one around. And I thought, my ancestors, thank you. I want to be home. I wish I could be here with all of you, but my life is in Alaska. So I just wanted to just bring that. There was a couple things I would like to just mention. I know you've all, if I could be here and live here, I would be at every council meeting. I'm surprised our people aren't here. One of the things I just want to say when I say we have so much is I live amongst some Indian people, and they're called the landless tribes, and they don't have any land. They have land, indigenous land, that they were born into, but the state of Alaska took it. So there's 5 tribes of Tlinkits called the landless tribe, landless land, and they don't have land. And so my son is one of the many supporters that are trying to address that. And to sit here and to hear about all the wonder, the behavioral health and all of that, that's just phenomenal. I grew up with the Indian clinic out here. And then when I come back and see the clinic, I keep saying, oh, if only grandma could have been alive to see this. So I just made a few notes. I don't have my glasses on me, but I'm just going to mention a few things. One of them is, I've always thought this, and I'm sure it's been brought up, so if I might be repeating myself, the things that you've already addressed. But for those of us that are far away, and even those of us that are here, we all have, in my opinion, a piece of our powerful Pawnee tradition and culture. We all have a piece of it. I have what my grandmother taught me and what I experienced here, and you all have pieces of it. If there is a way, I always think about this a lot in my life. It comes to me all the time. If there is a way that we could, one time a year, bring our people home, and that's great, they come home for Pawnee Powwow. That's wonderful that we have the veterans to honor our wonderful veterans. But if there is a way to bring our people home once a year, and that we would talk about and teach these younger ones and those that maybe need to know all the pieces of the creation story. When my grandmother talked about how our people would go up through the stars to the heavens, and all those, I teach what I can to my children, but to be able to bring them home and to have all of you and others talk about these wonderful teachings that we all know the base, But there were other parts that our elders and our grandparents have taught us that maybe some of you haven't heard, or there may be things that I need to know that I would like to know before I leave this earth. I grew up here and I went through high school here, and I was glad to see Gary. It's so good to see the people that I grew up with. And then I went on to Chilocco, and that was a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. I was one of the ones that had a good experience at a boarding school. But the incredible history that we have here with the boarding schools, my young grandson is here. He's 15, and I told him what I know of the boarding schools. Because, like I said, I teach them every chance I get about who we are as Pawnees. But for my young grandson to physically see those structures and to walk into the administration building and to look and to put your hand on those faces of all of those young children, there's just so much. I know you all are well aware of the 215 Native children that were found in the boarding school in Kamloops residential school. And I spoke to one of the tribal council because I travel up to Canada a lot. That you can travel from Ketchikan, go all the way down through British Columbia, and end up in Seattle. And I take that route all the time. And I stop in Kamloops. It's a halfway point. And she was telling me, councilwoman, she said, on the news, you know, you hear what the news is saying about our children. She said, but it wasn't just something that we discovered. We as a people got together and we prayed and we told these little ones, we're looking for you. Don't be scared. We're looking for you. And she said, we found them in that mass grave. And it's wonderful to see now tribes now going to address the atrocities that happens. You all are probably familiar, but there's a big movement going on now. I'm sure, and I'm so happy to hear about the behavioral health. There's such a huge movement going on up north in Canada, in Alaska. People now stepping into the part of the healing and addressing the displacement and addressing the loss of land, the loss of the children, and everything that goes on with that. And I'm just so happy to hear what I heard tonight, because that's an ongoing story up there, up at the boarding school. I didn't even know my own mother went to that boarding school here until I was an adult 7 years ago. My sister told me, and my mother, I didn't know that. My mother never spoke of it. I'm still shocked to this day. When I was upstairs, she said, this is where Mother slept, in this room. And I'm like I said, I'm still shocked to know that. Thank you for letting me share that about my teachings with my wonderful Skeety grandmother, Mamie Morgan. And I always said that she knew I was not going to be here when I was a little girl, and I had to stay with her a lot because I was sick. And so when my siblings and the rest of the Pawnee kids were out playing or out doing something fun, I would be sitting with her. And so she would talk to me, and she would say to me, I just want to share this, I know I'm off the topic, but she would say to me as a child, there's going to come a time, if there ever comes a time and you're not going to be here. And I would say, Grandma, I'm always going to be here. And she would say, no, listen to me. If there ever comes a time when you're not here, and something happens or something scares you, and she would give me some scenarios, and she would tell me, this is what I need you to do. And I would always say, Grandma, I'm going to live here my whole life. And I'm going to marry here. And I'm going to have Pawnee children. I'm going to have 3 sons and a little girl. And she always told me, you listen to me if there ever comes a time and you're not here. And now I look back, I'm like, she knew that a time would come when I would be far away. And I'm glad that she prepared me because she has helped me in the spirit world. She has helped me so many times, and I'm so thankful for that. So what I wanted to come up and talk to you about was, I love the fact that if there is a way that we could bring our people back, specifically for them to hear the history, and everybody set aside all of their differences, and we come together and we talk. I would be so happy to hear that, if that was ever to come to pass. And I just want to say, this is something that I was always researching about the climate change. We see the incredible climate change that's happening up in Alaska. My children and them know the rhythm of the sea, and it's changing. And I have all my friends that live up north, they talk about what's happening in their villages. As a matter of fact, further up north, we were talking about the prices for 5 dozen eggs up north. It's $49.97, and the native people pay $7 to $11 a gallon further up north out of Anchorage of the prices that's happening, and they do everything they can for subsistence, and they're always fighting for their subsistence way of life. But I just do my own personal research, and I know you all know this, but I'm just going to say that in the next 30 years, they're talking about the extreme heat belt, and it's going to affect millions of American people, including our own people, our own Pawnee people. They said from Texas all the way to the Great Lakes, the temperatures are going to rise to about 125 degrees. And so they said that we're going to see migrations happening, and it's happening now around the world. People are having to migrate. It's too hot now where they used to live. And I was curious, is that something that we're all talking about? Is that something that 25 years is not that far off, about the migration and what's going to happen to our own people? Is Nebraska in the picture here? I'm too far away to know all the dynamics of the politics of Pawnee, but I would love to hear, be a part of or listen to if you all are addressing that. It's a scientific fact of what's going to happen. A lot of us won't be around for that, but certainly our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren will. So I just, again, want to say it's so wonderful to be home. I'm probably going to be here for maybe a week or a week and a half, I believe, but the rest of them are going back. They're going back to Alaska, and tomorrow I'm taking, I have a Lummi Nation friend that's down here from the Lummi Indian Reservation, and my friend, her name is Catherine Kitty. She's an Aleut, and during the war back in the day, our government took their people and forcibly took them from their homes. They come from the Bering Sea, took them from their homes, and her mother, when she was 9, they put her mother and her grandmother on a boat along with their people, and they brought them all the way to southeast Alaska where there were trees. There weren't any trees where they live, where there were trees, and it's a whole different rhythm. And they put them in internment camps, and her mother was in internment camps for years and years. They couldn't go back home because when they finally released them after the war, their homes were raided. Everything was gone. And I was telling her that my Aleut friend in Anchorage, they wanted to find out who they were as a people. And he said we had to go to Russia, and we had to go to their museums, and we had to go to their private collections, and we had to see how our people dressed and their whole history of that was stripped from them. That's why I'm so happy that our people, everything's intact. So thank you so much for letting me speak for a few minutes. I would love to have an opportunity to come back and share the stories that my wonderful grandmother taught me. I carry the name of my grandma, Nora Pratt, And it's a really powerful, interesting story, but I'd love to tell you all. But to make the short version, when I went to her and asked her about my name, she said that it was her baby name, and it came to her mother in a vision, and that one of the Pawnee elders had a vision from the Creator speaking to her, and she went to my grandmother Nora Pratt's mother while she was carrying her and put her hand on her belly and said, "This child's going to be a girl, and you're to name her Stadawidisa." And it's a sacred baby ear of corn. And so I was told that when my parents went to get my Pawnee name, she said, "Give your little girl, Hilaire, my name." And I carry her name. We have so many wonderful elders that I know are gone now. And I know you all know you would keep our people's history and our culture intact. And I would love to hear from all of you everything that you know about our people. So I look forward to seeing you all, and I hope to be coming back more. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilaire. Now you know why I was so nervous all night. Good words, and it's good to see you and welcome home. Okay, anyone else, folks? Gary? No? Okay, Auntie? Okay, just okay. All right, Charlie? You got any, okay, okay.
Is that correct? Okay. Let me repeat myself. Did I get this straight? You're going to fund the elders for the holiday assistance. Okay. You're not going to fund the buildings over the elders. There's another program you can use for the elder assistance, is that correct? Okay, that's all I want to know.
Yes, we're funding it, elders.
Do you know approximately how many elders you are going to fund?
525.
What?
525.
Okay, good deal. I'm one of them.
How many?
What? 565?
565.
Okay. Okay, I'll watch my mailbox. And thank you.
Me
Hopefully
too.
you get it before
Well, I'll watch
Thanksgiving.
my mailbox too. All right. Debbie, again?
I just got a message from Mikai, and I just want to remind everybody that Monday, November 14th, Rock Your Mox Round Dance, and it will be at the Pawnee Nation Roundhouse. The meal starts at 5 to 6 p.m., and she's really hoping for a nice crowd, and it's all in recognition of World Diabetes Day and Native American Heritage Month. So.
Thank you for that. Okay, folks, I think we are ready for our next item here, which is to set the next meeting date, Council. And what are your wishes? Darn, I left my calendar again. Before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving, folks? Do we have it already? Okay. After Thanksgiving? Okay. What about the first week in December, folks? Carol, you got anything coming up on budget? First week in the first week in December. I can't remember. Yeah. First week in December. Gene, are you going to be in the Philippines or someplace? Okay. Last week in November, 29th, does that work? What day is that, Jordan? Tuesday. What about 5:30? Gene? October 29.
Is that okay with you, Sammy?
5:30. Sammy, does that work for you? Shake your head 2 times if that works for you. All right, okay. Okay, folks, I think we have our next meeting date. That's October 29. I'm sorry, November 29. Damn. Pardon my French. Tuesday at 5:30. Okay. I think that brings us to the end of the evening. The clock on the wall says that it's time for a motion to adjourn, folks.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Secretary, call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho?
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman?
Yes.
Cynthia Butler?
Yes.
Gene Evans?
Yes.
Sammy Kimball? Yes.
All right, folks, we are dismissed. God bless each of you. Safe journey, and the time is 7:56. All right. Okay, well, drive safe, everyone, and thank you to the staff for being here tonight, and appreciate each and every one of you, all of our tribal members, and we are dismissed.